This podcast is made possible by the listener members of Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's June 17th, 2025. James Weldon Johnson was born on this day in 1871. He was, for some time, a professor at Fisk University here in Nashville. He taught creative writing at Fisk. There's a historic marker in front of the house where he lived during his time in Nashville. And if you got your drive-through COVID testing done at Meharry back in the early days of the pandemic, you may have idled in front of that house for quite some time. Now, Johnson was a really important figure in the Harlem Renaissance. He was a groundbreaking lawyer and diplomat and an early national leader of the NAACP. And he wrote the song widely called America's Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Juneteenth is coming up this week. Just a heads up, WPLN observes the holiday, so there won't be a new episode of this podcast on Thursday. Juneteenth is, of course, a day to commemorate the end of slavery in this nation. It falls each year on the anniversary of the day in 1865 when the last community of enslaved people in the nation were informed that federal law had changed and they were to be emancipated. Now, that was only a few years before James Weldon Johnson was born, which means that he grew up in an America where Black people like him had a degree of freedom, but plenty of their rights were severely curtailed as states and cities enacted Jim Crow laws that basically tried to skate as close to slavery as possible without fully crossing that line. It took concerted effort by people like James Weldon Johnson and the generations of Black Americans that followed to finally push the government to overturn Jim Crow measures. And yet, that spirit continues to live on all these years later in certain societal attitudes that aren't encoded into law, making them all the much harder to eradicate. Advocates for diversity, equity, and inclusion practices and policies argue that this is the reason DEI is important. But of course, DEI is under heavy fire these days. And so as we approach another Juneteenth and Nashville Pride the following week, we're hearing reports that the pressure to defund DEI initiatives is hitting the bottom line for both of those June traditions. There was a report about it yesterday from the Nashville Banner, which, just to be clear, for those of you who caught yesterday's episode, is not the newspaper whose history I talked about, but a nonprofit online news outlet that has revived the name. Anyway, the Banner reported that companies with a history of sponsoring Juneteenth and Pride events are backing off this year, either giving less or not at all. They're telling organizers they have less money to give to anything that can be stamped with the label DEI. It's just one more way that companies are backing off from inclusionary efforts, or at least the perception of them. They used to feel like they'd lose customers or investors if they didn't show signs of embracing DEI. And now, the way the political tides have turned, they worry they'll lose money if they do embrace it. 2 years ago, a Franklin alderman got in hot water for a moment over Juneteenth festival funding. It was one of the earliest chapters in what turned out to be a novel's worth of controversy related to Gabrielle Hansen. But before she showed up to a mayoral forum accompanied by white supremacists, before News Channel 5 dug up evidence that she once answered phones for an escort service, Hansen got a lot of attention for two things: peddling a wild conspiracy theory about the Covenant School shooting and pressuring the Nashville airport's leadership not to sponsor a Franklin Juneteenth event. At the time, Hansen essentially threatened members of the airport authority, sending a letter saying that conservatives in her community would retaliate against the authority's board members and social media posts if they went forward with plans to give money to the celebration. Instead, she suggested they move their money to a group she considered more neutral and acceptable. 2 years ago, that letter angered people in Franklin. They called it an abuse of power, and she was brought up on ethics complaints. And sure enough, the Franklin Ethics Commission found that she did violate 2 sections of municipal code. How much has changed in just 2 years? Now the White House has multiple executive orders in place that go much further. Anything that could be perceived as DEI is characterized as a civil rights violation and being used as fodder for official federal investigations. It's had a tremendous chilling effect which, of course, has led to those issues like Pride and Juneteenth celebrations seeing less funding. But anyone who feels certain that the ideas behind DEI are being defeated needs to learn their history. I'm reminded that there was little business support for efforts like the NAACP back in James Weldon Johnson's day. And yet he and his peers found their voices. They spoke out. They found ways of supporting and lifting each other up. They refused to be silenced. And Johnson put words to a stirring song that continues to inspire people who are insisting now on the importance of equity and inclusion and of reflecting our community's full diversity in the halls of government and on the boards of corporations. Sing a song, it says, full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. It's a powerful sentiment, and one with a track record of firing people up to push through barriers and take their stand. In just a few minutes, the Belcourt celebrates 100 years of being way more than just a place to see movies. That's coming up after the newscast.
Thematic Static on WNXP is the mixtape we make together, a themed set loosely organized by you, the listener, handpicking songs according to a theme. Airing first Thursdays at 9 a.m. and again Saturdays at 9 a.m., Thematic Static plucks your requests from the socials at WNXP Nashville and by voice memo at 615-320-9100. Thematic Static, the mixtape we make together, supported by United Record Pressing, only on WNXP.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. More than 10,000 jobs may be threatened under President Donald Trump's proposed tax bill. That's the third highest employment risk in the nation, according to the International Council on Clean Energy. WPLN's Caroline Eggers reports that most of the jobs would be in the nascent, yet rapidly growing sector of electric vehicle manufacturing.
In terms of jobs, manufacturing is the second largest industry in Tennessee. And a big part of that recently has been electric vehicles, with announcements for over a dozen new plants in the past 3 years. This boom is largely tied to federal tax credits, which could soon be cut in the big tax bill. Senator Bill Hagerty, a Republican in Tennessee, recently told Bloomberg News that
the main interest I have is making certain that we stimulate more capital investment in America, because more capital investment will beget more jobs, more economic activity.
He previously voted against the tax credits, which are part of the nation's first major climate law 3 years ago. One analysis found that Tennessee now has about 12,000 jobs and more than $4 billion in known investments at risk, just in the EV sector. Many analyses have been consistent in finding that the bill will raise the price of energy, create more pollution, and threaten jobs. Caroline Eggers, WPLN News.
Nashville looks close to finalizing its spending plan. Metro Council will vote on the proposed budget at its meeting tonight. The mayor's proposal is $3.8 billion. But as WPLN's Cynthia Abrams reports, there are two other alternatives now on the table.
One of the so-called substitute budgets comes from the council's budget chair, Delicia Porterfield. It's pretty similar to what the mayor envisioned. Same total cost, same property tax hike. The main difference is where some dollars will go. Porterfield redirects more money toward things like pay increases for Metro employees and maternal health programming. The other substitute is from one of the council's most conservative members, Courtney Johnston. She's proposing decreasing the tax rate, which would shrink the overall budget by a little more than $100 million. Cynthia Abrams, WPLN News.
Both substitutes will be considered tonight. The council must agree on a budget by the end of the month. Otherwise, the mayor's proposal will take effect. A subdivision in Clarksville is searching for answers after repeated flooding. A neighborhood called Woodstock Estates flooded twice this year after extreme rainfall, first in February, then in April, when Clarksville broke its 4-day record with nearly 10 inches of rain. The subdivision was built on former farmland in the late 90s and 2000s and first flooded in a major way in 2010. Residents are now seeking help from local officials. The city may add new stormwater drains to pump excess water to creeks. Mount Juliet and Lebanon are studying their most dangerous roads. The two cities were awarded federal grants to develop safety plans to reduce deaths and serious injuries. Lebanon had more than 100 fatal and serious injury crashes during a recent 5-year period. The city might consider addressing State Route 109 near Interstate 40. Mount Juliet had 10 fatal crashes and dozens of serious injuries during a recent 4-year period. The city may address dangerous conditions on Mount Juliet Road between Providence Parkway and Old Lebanon Dirt Road. That road had more than 1,000 crashes during the study's time period. Vanderbilt officials hope to develop a new neighborhood called an innovation zone on and near West End Avenue. It would include apartments, offices, space for business startups, and laboratories. The Nashville Business Journal reports the plan calls for a decade or so of building on 40 acres of land that is largely already owned by the university. This includes a group of parking lots on the west side of the campus and the land where a Holiday Inn, Wendy's, and the Park Place shopping center are now. Metro Council will need to sign off on any construction. First, Vanderbilt is working on securing financing and working with a Danish architecture firm to round out the conceptual plan. The Recording Academy has announced a new musical category for the 2026 Grammy Awards, Best Traditional Country Album. It's not uncommon for the Grammys to add, subtract, and adjust categories, but this change is particularly notable. It came on the heels of Beyoncé's Best Country Album win, despite the country music industry's overall rejection of the project. That one country category has essentially been split into two, traditional and contemporary. This ensures that rootsy albums, some of which have received nods in Americana categories in the past, have a lane apart from pop-adjacent country blockbusters. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. The Belcourt Theater celebrated its 100-year anniversary last month. While other art house movie theaters have gone out of business in recent years, the Belcourt remains. Music reporter Justin Barney says that the theater has endured because of its off-the-wall taste in art and its ability to facilitate great conversations.
The Belcourt is one of those third spaces, not work, not home, but a place where you can go with your community and talk about the things that you love with other like-minded people. There are few like it, and it's probably why the Belcourt has lasted 100 years.
It is just a place to hang.
The vibe of the Belcourt is, I think, one of just love for art.
Any kind of artistic place is going to attract a range of people.
We have Swamp Dogg here tonight. Paul Simon just walked by the Belcourt. Jack White was here last week, just attending a film.
Well, he's the coolest people in Nashville.
The Belcourt Theater is on Belcourt Avenue in Hillsborough Village. When you walk into the front doors,
Hi.
You might see Quinn Hills.
Do you have a ticket already?
Taking tickets.
Do you need a parking pass? Okay, cool. I'm a musician. I've also started writing film reviews for the Nashville scene. It's really incredible how we can all come together but still have autonomy. Like for those of us who are musicians, some of us go on tour and then we can come back. We still have a job. A lot of other places, if you leave for 2 weeks or a month, you're not going to have a job when you come back.
Snake your way through concessions and you'll meet Nick Dimitros,
microwaving a hot dog,
and Jolton Mayfield.
When I introed Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was 23 minutes long because I wrote everything that I wanted to say, but I didn't edit it down or read it. We have like a keep it to 5 minutes rule for intros now, and I'd like to think I'm part of that.
You never know what you're going to get with an introduction. It's such an incredible way to get a framework before watching a film.
Now let's walk into the Dark Theater. It's a packed house, and Zach Hall is about to give an introduction to the new movie Friendship.
Hello, everybody! Welcome to the Belcourt Theater and tonight's screening of Friendship. We are so excited to have you here with us for a very special preview screening. In these dark times we live in, having a friend is perhaps one of the most important things. So I want you to look deep in your friend's eyes right now, and I want you to say, "I love you, man." Without further ado, let's sit back, relax, and let's make some friends.
So I'm just going to watch the countdown up here and go.
Now, as the movie is playing, upstairs there is a room that says employees only. That is the projection room and the domain of longtime employee Bob Roberts.
You have all these different people bringing their personal passions to whatever it is that brought them here and finding an outlet for that, communing with other people of their kind. And I think that's just great.
Sometimes people's urge to talk about the movie is so strong they miss part of the movie itself.
There was a guy who came in last night. He was talking with us, and I was thinking, what time does this guy's movie start? Like, there's no one else in here. And I was like, the movie started at 9:15, and he was talking to us for 20 minutes. He didn't go up there until 10 o'clock, so he missed half the movie. He just kept coming back down to talk to us, and it's like, didn't you pay to watch a movie? But we did look him up, because he gave us his name because he's a musician, and it doesn't look like he bought a ticket. So I don't know how he got in, but he was just yapping away.
And when the movie ends, you're encouraged to yap away. Who knows who you're going to see in the audience of the Bell Court? I mean, it's Nashville after all. You might see Paul Simon, who we saw on the way in, or you might see renowned NPR music critic Ann Powers walking out of the music documentary Swamp Dogg Gets His Pool Painted.
What do you think? Oh, I loved it. I mean, interesting as a film. On the edge of chaos, but I still enjoyed it.
Being shoulder to shoulder in the narrow lobby encourages conversation about the movie. And the parking lot outside is a conversation pit itself.
I mean, when a movie's over and you go outside with your friends and some people are smoking cigarettes, we can just talk about the movie. I've done that a lot as a patron.
We're closing down for the night, and there's still people outside talking about the movie they just watched. I guess what kind of ties everything together is a strong community around it. It's just something you feel when you walk through the doors.
The Bell Court is one of those places where you can process emotion together, or talk about beauty, or just repeat all the funny lines of a movie.
Yeah.
It's a place that isn't made special or successful by the things that it sells, but by the people who have flocked to it every night for 100 years.
Hopefully in another 100 years we'll still be here.
From Nashville Public Radio, I'm Justin Barney.
All right, I'm over here.
We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks so much to all of you who have left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does tell the algorithms that more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.